An abandoned ship was found in the United States, and many say it is Noah's Ark, but you won't believe what authorities found inside. Deep in the heart of the Appalachian wilderness, where towering trees whisper secrets older than time, a team of biologists embarked on what was meant to be a routine expedition. Their goal was simple: document new animal species and study the native vegetation, but fate had other plans. As they ventured deeper into the thick forest, the team stumbled upon a cave entrance hidden behind a curtain of vines. A strange chill filled the air as they stepped inside, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The deeper they went, the more unnatural the silence became. No echoes, no sounds of dripping water, nothing. Then, as if the cave itself had been waiting for them, the passage opened into a vast, hidden chamber. What lay before them defied all logic: a colossal wooden ship, partially buried under layers of rock and moss, stood frozen in time. The sheer size of it made their hearts pound. One of the biologists, a historian by passion, whispered in awe. Skepticism filled the air, but curiosity won. With trembling hands, they approached the ship. The wood, despite its age, seemed strangely preserved. Carvings covered its surface, ancient symbols, writings in a language long forgotten. The eerie feeling intensified as they pushed open the massive wooden door, which groaned as if resisting their intrusion. Inside, the ship was vast, its chambers filled with rows of decayed wooden crates. But what they found next made their blood run cold. The walls were lined with preserved skeletons of creatures that shouldn't exist. Gigantic bones of unknown beasts, strange humanoid figures with elongated skulls, and creatures that resembled something out of myths: griffins, dragons, and even what looked like the remains of a giant serpent. At the center of the main hall was something even more unsettling. A massive, glass-like container stood untouched, filled with a dark, viscous liquid. Inside it floated a humanoid figure, its eyes closed, its skin pale and almost translucent. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Panic set in. One of the biologists immediately called the authorities. Within hours, a specialized government task force arrived, sealing off the area. The team was ushered away and told to remain silent about their findings. But before they left, one biologist swore they saw something terrifying. The figure inside the container opened its eyes. Days later, the entire discovery was wiped from public record. The cave was collapsed under a controlled explosion. The government denied any knowledge of an ark, a ship, or anything remotely related. But those who were there knew the truth. Whatever they had found was never meant to be uncovered. And perhaps, just perhaps, it wasn't Noah's Ark at all. It was something much, much older. The biologists were escorted out of the site under heavy surveillance. No questions were answered, no explanations given, just a cold, final warning from a man in a black suit. Forget what you saw for your own safety. But how could they? The image of that ship, those impossible creatures, and worst of all, the thing in the container that opened its eyes haunted them. The next day, news broke of a minor geological disturbance in the area where the ship had been found. A supposed cave collapse. Any satellite images of the location were mysteriously erased. Even local reports of unusual government activity disappeared overnight. Dr. Evelyn Carter, one of the lead biologists on the expedition, refused to let it go. She knew what she had seen was real. Over the next few weeks, she searched for answers, but every inquiry was met with dead ends. Then something strange happened. One by one, members of the expedition started disappearing. The first was Daniel Monroe, a young zoologist who had taken samples from the ship. He was reported missing after going for a night walk. His car was found abandoned by a river, but his body was never recovered. Next was Dr. Hughes, the team's archaeologist. His house burned down under mysterious circumstances. Authorities ruled it an accident, but Evelyn wasn't so sure. Fearing for her own life, Evelyn decided to go into hiding. She gathered whatever data she had managed to keep: a few blurry photos, sketches of the symbols on the ship, and an audio recording she had secretly taken inside the Ark. One night, as she played the recording back, her breath caught in her throat. Beneath the echoes of their footsteps and hushed whispers, something else could be heard. A heartbeat, slow, deep, and rhythmic coming from inside that glass container. Whatever was inside wasn't just alive, it was waking up. Determined to uncover the truth, Evelyn reached out to an old professor of ancient languages. She sent him images of the carvings from the ship, hoping for a translation. His reply came at 3 a.m. short, urgent, and terrifying. "Evelyn, you need to stop. This isn't Noah's Ark. It's something older. Much older and much worse. They tried to contain it. They failed." She barely had time to process his words before she heard heavy footsteps outside her motel room, then a knock at the door. She turned off the lights, heart pounding. The knocking grew louder. Then a voice, cold, inhuman, whispering her name. Evelyn covered her mouth, stifling a scream. Whatever they had found in that shit, it had found her too. Evelyn sat frozen in the darkness, her breath shallow. The knocking had stopped, but the silence was worse. She reached for her phone with trembling hands and typed a single message to her old professor. "What do you mean they tried to contain it? What is IT?" No response. Then her motel room lock clicked ... Someone was inside. She barely had time to react before a heavy hand covered her mouth. Strong arms pinned her down, her phone slipping from her grasp. She struggled, kicking wildly, but then she heard a voice, a deep, familiar voice, "Stay quiet if you want to live." The grip loosened and Evelyn spun around, gasping for air. She recognized him immediately. Daniel Monroe, he was supposed to be dead. "We have to go," Daniel whispered urgently. "They're coming." Still in shock, Evelyn grabbed her bag, stuffing the few remaining notes and the audio recorder inside. She followed Daniel out through the motel's back door into the cold night. How are you alive?" she stammered as they ran into the woods. "They didn't kill me," Daniel replied. "Not yet. They wanted to know what I saw, what I took." "You took something from the Ark," Daniel nodded, pulling a small metal vial from his pocket. Inside, a thick, black liquid swirled unnaturally. "The blood of whatever was inside that container," he said. "I took a sample before the government showed up. And I think it's still alive." Evelyn felt her stomach drop. Before she could respond, the forest around them shifted, whispering a voice neither male nor female, speaking in a language that didn't belong to this world. The trees withered as they passed, leaves turning black, the ground beneath them cracking. Then Evelyn saw them, figures in dark suits, their eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. Their mouths moved, but their words were incomprehensible. And then they stepped forward in unison. Daniel grabbed Evelyn's hand. "Run." They sprinted deeper into the forest, but the figures didn't chase them. They just stood there, watching, and then Evelyn realized they weren't trying to stop them. They were hurting them, straight towards something worse. The ground suddenly gave way, and they tumbled into a hidden cavern, another chamber beneath the Ark. Daniel groaned, clutching his side, but Evelyn's attention was fixed on what lay ahead. A massive, circular stone door covered in the same carvings from the ship stood before them. But unlike the Ark, this place felt different. It felt alive. The whispers grew louder, pulsating from behind the door. The vial in Daniel's pocket glowed, reacting to whatever was inside. The blood, if that's what it really was, wanted to go back. Then, with an ear-splitting crack, the stone door began to open. A shadow moved inside, something stepped forward. Evelyn and Daniel could only watch in horror as the true inhabitant of the Ark revealed itself, and it was not human.